All right, so we're back again right here on GhanaWeb Mundial. We're streaming live on GhanaWeb.com and on YouTube at GhanaWeb TV. Today we are looking at the way forward of the Black Stars in 2022. We've won only 3 games. After a disappointing campaign in the AFCON, it didn't change in the Mundial in Qatar 2022. Also today, starting the quarter-final games in the World Cup, Argentina will be playing Netherlands, whilst Croatia will be playing the record champions Brazil. We'll be discussing all of these games right here on GhanaWeb Mundial. And also tomorrow, the 3 Lions of England will play France, and then Portugal will be kicking against the only African team in the competition, Morocco. My name is Joel Leshen. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we start the discussion on the way forward of Ghana football, particularly the Black Stars of Ghana.
Now, to sang pine, be a want on and be a man in quite baby.
Mommy, you can see about Kotoso. No, Mammy, I cook on some. Mipoga, send me sick from Lemonade Finance and let me £10.
Lemonade Finance.
Say you're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted a instant charges. Exchange waiting in Sudia. Unbeatable. Resume promo code no Dr. Likey. Nenya £10, $10, and now $10 Canadian dollars. What first transaction? What is send this car coffee? No, dial to lemon and fun.
Are you still searching for the right platform to share your voice, thoughts, and feelings? Then, the GhanaWeb Reporter on the GhanaWeb app is the perfect app for you. It is Ghana's only citizen journalism and infotainment platform. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, GhanaWeb Reporter links you up to the world. The reporter also gives you the opportunity to blog or become a citizen journalist, so you share stories with the rest of the world about cities, music genres, pop culture, tech, politics, etc. Download the GhanaWeb app from the Google Play Store or App Store on your smartphone and open it. Tap on the member button at the bottom of your screen and follow the easy steps to register with your phone number or email, and you are ready to become a reporter.
GhanaWeb Reporter, democratizing journalism and empowering content creators.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching GhanaWeb Mundial. We are streaming on GhanaWeb.com, and on YouTube, we are streaming on GhanaWeb TV. To join me do the discussion is Edward Smith. He's a journalist, Perez Ezwakwao, and then Daniel Odo. Danny Perez, Edward, good morning. Thanks for joining me here.
A pleasure.
A pleasure to be here.
Then let me start with you. World Cup 2022, did it meet your expectations?
Well, the World Cup is still ongoing, but I would say that yes, it really met my expectations. It's been one hell of a festival for those of us who were present in Qatar. For me, I have the benefit of comparison because I've witnessed a World Cup before. I compared to the 2014 edition, and even though I've always said the only difference is that the Qataris are not as passionate as about football as the Brazilians. They've really hosted a very magnificent World Cup. The celebration, the stadia, the atmosphere, and the fact that it was a one-city World Cup really made it quite different and exciting. You could see a very lively city hosting the rest of the world, and I mean, the African flavor was there for everyone to see. Senegal, the Ivorians, the Ghanaians, they brought some color to the event. And I think Qatar, despite its tiny nature, has really demonstrated that maybe going forward we should look at hosting the World Cup in one city and not just across a big country like it happened in Brazil. But I think that they've really met my expectations. I went there somehow also biased by the European reportage of how warm the city is or how hot the country is. But it was very regular, like you were in Ghana, except it's cleaner and more planned than our part of the world. But they've really met our expectations. And I think a lot of people will leave Qatar having bought into their soft power and their the fact that they are very westernized and very Europeanized, and all the if you like negative reportage may not be as true as it was said or exaggerated to be. I'm sure they have their own problems, but in the last 2 weeks that we were there, I've really been impressed by the country and their organization.
Okay, now let's talk about the Black Stars. You went to Cameroon for the AFCON. Yes. It was a disaster. We came back. We pointed at all hands were being pointed at Milo. Yeah. He was sacked. Otuado came in. We put in a 4-man task force to lead the team to Qatar. What went wrong for us in Qatar?
I think it's a combination of many things. Sometimes poor coaching decisions, sometimes a lack of mental fortitude, which has been part of the Black Stars for many years, as I could remember. And I say that because in 2010, when we met Egypt in the AFCON final, we had it in our hands, left it into the 80-something minute, and lost that final. It started even in 2018 when we hosted it in Ghana in the semi-final against Cameroon, where we thought we could win it. Claude Leroy made a poor coaching decision when John Mensah got a red card and took our best player, Michael Essien, to defense, and all of those. In 2015, I witnessed Black Stars take a two-penalty advantage, two-goal lead in a penalty shootout and blew it. And I say this is a mental problem that we need to solve going forward. So that again reared its head in Qatar. I think Coach Otuado, because of his very new nature in the coaching space, was also doing a lot of tinkering with his team, trying to learn on the job, and that I believe cost the Black Stars at this tournament. It's been a very difficult year, very poor showing at the AFCON, but if you want to look at the positive, you see that the improvement between January and the November World Cup has been a bit marked and a bit, if you like, encouraging. That's what the World Cup does for you when you qualify, especially at the moment we qualified against Nigeria. A lot of these players who in the past refused to play for us were more amenable to playing for us. So I thought on that score you could see an improvement in the squad, and a lot of us believe that just qualification to the next round would have been target achieved. I believe that was genuinely the level that they should have reached, because even though there were a lot of very good talent, they hadn't played enough, and there was a lot of lack of experience at this level. So just qualifying out of the group would have demonstrated how far they had come in terms of that rebuilding process. But nonetheless, it's a difficult year for Ghana football. I think major lessons should be learned. We need to sort out the technical side of the team in terms of the coaching and the direction of where the Black Stars should go. But this is a crop of players that we can keep, and if we really believe in the meritocracy and bring in a few more players, I think that this team can go all the way and win the next AFCON, or at least reach the last four, because we've not performed well at the last two major AFCONs that we've participated in.
Ed, let me bring you in. We did the commentary here on Friday, and then in the heat of the moment, a lot of things were said here. But from your own point of view, who were not in Qatar, Perez and Danny were there, so they saw some of the things that the camera didn't show us on Friday. In your own point of view, what went wrong for us, because we had our destiny in our own hands?
I think Daniel highlighted, like, in summary, everything that was wrong with the team. I must say that after the shambolic AFCON performance, I think the World Cup gave us a much better appreciation of what the team can do. They played much better than they did at the World Cup. You could tell that these guys were talented, they knew what they're about, and they understood the job at hand. Now, we can talk about the coaching issues and things like that. I'm not sure that is going to change most of the things that happen, but there are some good things we can pick. And for me, I think they played very well, and we had some very new players in the team that would help the team going forward. I think the mental thing is important. If you look at the space, the goals that we conceded, I mean, within 3 minutes, we conceded 2 goals within 3 minutes in probably each of those matches, and I think we can do better. As for the coaching department, I think the FA must learn hard lessons from this incident, because I feel if we had a much experienced coach, things would have been much different on the field of play, and there would have been a lot of more discipline on the side of some certain players on the pitch than we saw in the game. So there's a lot to build on. There's a lot to also take from what we've seen, but generally, I mean, not qualifying from the group is a big disappointment, because that's the target that actually was set by...
Our target was semi-finals.
Yep. Well, if that is what you're saying, our target was to also win the cup.
That's what the minister said on the floor of Parliament.
And that's the budget was done up to the
budget
semi-final
14.1 million.
Yes. So genuinely, they thought we could make this. I don't know who was.
You see, we can, if it were to be the football people as they have been tagged saying that, I would believe. But with all due respect, the minister doesn't know anything about football. He was just appointed as minister, so he's not somebody that we can say a lot about. But the minister, he even common accounting on what we spend there, he's not done with that. So let's not even talk about that. What matters most is we showed some rip somehow. We showed that we have the talent. Look, even if we didn't qualify from the group, I think the whole world knows that Ghana, we have what it takes. It's just that with a few things that we need to put to get the team there. But I'm sure that we can do better. And I enjoyed, especially the Korea game. I enjoyed the Portugal game and the Korea game more than I did with the Uruguay game. Because with the Uruguay game, I felt we could beat them. And to see what happened, I was very disappointed. But with the Portuguese game and then the South Korean game, we knew our problems. It was a bit tricky, but we did very well, especially with the Portuguese game, being able to mentally come back in the game when it looked like everything was lost. That was a good showing. The South Korea game, too, we showed some level of some fight back, and that is good. That's the fighting spirit that we need. There are a few things we need to work on, and I'm sure when we go, we'll handpick certain problems in the teams, and then we can discuss them.
All right, Perez, let me bring you in. As usual, Ghanaians are talking on social media that after 2017, when we were eliminated by the Indomitable Lions in the semi-final, the normal phrase was, let's come and build. In 2019 AFCON, we were eliminated in the round of 16, let's come and build. 2022, disastrous, has never happened in our history again, let's come and build. 2022 World Cup, we get eliminated from the group stages, let's come and build. What at all have we been building, and what do we need to do differently this time around? Because it's like we are always using the word we have to build, but we are not doing it.
I think that, so we can look at it from two angles. Either we focus on the Black Stars and how we can rebuild the Black Stars, or the bigger conversation about how we build Ghana football. Because whether we like it or not, we have big problem from the ground level to the Black Stars. Our under 21 the cup, I think, last year.
Yeah, Lewafu.
Yes, but how many of those players even made it to the Black Star squad?
Only 3.
You look at the under 17. Even go further down, go to the GFA or the National Sports Authority and ask them, what's the developmental plan for Ghana football? And you see, whenever we make this point, people are always in a hurry to throw stones at the FA. But the institution which is actually responsible for developing sports in the country is the NSC. And they don't have it. The FA seem to have some plan. We can argue whether it's a very formidable plan. They have the under-15 team. We don't know what has become of it. But they seem to have some plan. But the National Sports Authority should be concerned about the state of Ghana football. And that's where, if you want to rebuild, that's where the conversation must start from, because they are responsible. They have to work with the FA to plan a very good plan that say, okay, in the next 5 years, this is how we intend to. That's what England did. Was it 2019 or 2009? England started a DNA project. And that project is what is giving us the current crop of English players. The Belgian players we see today did not come out of the blue. They came through a plan. There was a plan almost in every Belgian football institution to play 4-3-3. So that's why even right from the academies, the plan was that the basic formation that every Belgian team plays was 4-3-3. The Germans had a plan. They had a plan that at least beyond every 500 meters, there must be a park. That was the first plan. Then they evolved. There must be a trade. So Germany has one of the highest number of football coaches in the world because there was a conscious plan from the government and the association to develop their football. Ask yourself, what's the national plan when it comes to Ghana? What's our plan for football? So there is that. We can have a conversation on what the bigger picture is and what Ghana football is about. Then we can come to the Black Stars. For the Black Stars, the first thing we need to do is to get rid of certain players. Whether we like it or not, there are certain players who have paid their dues to Ghana football.
Like
they dare you. And I'm not trying to single him out or trying to say, but I don't remember the last time they had a decent and average Black Stars performance. And whether we like it, Dede has lost the speed. He's lost the pace. If you watch our games carefully, whenever we were in transition, Dede had the ball, he would take a touch or two more than necessary, and he slows the attack. So we need to have a conversation on certain players, even Thomas Partey. It's a very difficult and a very tricky situation, but we need to have that conversation as well because he's excelling at club level, but he's not doing the same in the Ghana jersey. So where do we draw the line? Because we can't keep saying that, oh, there is this perception that when there is an outing, that's when he plays. But there is no scientific basis for these things. And how long are we going to stick with a player who does so well at club level, but is not able to replicate that form at the national level? Are we going to say, okay, because he's Partey, we are going to play him, or we are going to take a decision on the fact that perhaps Elisha also showed against Switzerland that if we have coaches who trust him enough, he would do it. The next thing we need to do is to appoint a coach who I think is bold enough to make some of these calls. We need a coach with a plan. We need a coach who comes in and say, in the next 5 years, and that's the thing that I want the FA to do, the next coach coming in shouldn't be a coach that is going to be given a 2-year contract. No. Give the coach at least 4 or 5 years. Let him build a team because we have a team of very young players. Even there are certain players very good who couldn't make the squad that in the next 2 or 3 years will peak and even take over world football. If Mohamed Kudus, if things go to plan, will be a world-class player in a year or two. There's Kamal Din. So we have a very good foundation, but we need a coach with an FA with a plan to say, okay, this is the direction we are going. And we plan to achieve this in the next 5 years. So you're giving the coach this contract. And we believe that this coach will be able to lead us to the path we are going. The next thing we need to do, for me, is that the suspected influence of the FA on Black Star selection is one of the things that we need to address.
But Otuado just said that nobody.
Yeah, but there is Sika Akono who has made that submission.
Yeah, but Sika, when he had a job, it's like when they are there, it's different. So because someone can say that CK as it stands now, it's agreed. They've not settled him. They've not paid him what they are supposed to give him. So,
but I see when constantly you have people who previously held positions in the national team making some of these allegations, they can't be speaking out of ignorance or out of nothing. There might be some reason there. The next thing that we need to do is that we must appoint a coach, or the national team itself, that coach should play or should have a football that matches the strength of the team we have. And that's one of my biggest problems with Otuado. I feel that Otuado's setup was a disservice to our squad. We have a team that's quite attacking loaded. Yeah. We have a lot of attacking talent, but we are not playing to the strength of those players because the first option of our coach was not to concede.
To defend, but we were conceding.
It was not to concede. So we're constantly defending. So the likes of Kudus and all those guys had to track back often, and that kind of stifled the kind of output we were expecting. Okay. The next thing to do was to address the mental problem. What I would like to, we have a huge problem with.
Otuado himself said that we need to at least learn from the Uruguay players. The mentality they showed in that game.
And see, and those things, all of those things, sometimes they come from how even the player starts playing. Because a French player who goes through Clairefontaine goes up, was the French national team, just knowing that the government of France had a role in how I became a footballer. So when I go to the field, I have to play for the government. Now, what's the motivation? What's the factor that stimulates our players to perform for? Is it the money? That's one of the things that we need to say. Is it the money? Is it the love for the country? Is it the fact that they want to excel at the World Cup level, or what is it? So that's one of the things that we need to establish. Okay. If we establish this thing, the next thing that we need to do is that we need to have players who feel connection with the country. We shouldn't just be, and that's why some of us had issues and still have issues with the likes of Mohamed Salisu and Inaki Williams in the Black Stars team. We need to have players that, even if they were not born here, feel some kind of connection, as well as a coach who wouldn't think that coaching Ghana is doing us a favor, as Otuado feels he did for us. We need to have a coach who will come in for the money, but still think that this is a great country, they have talent, and I can help them move their football to the next level. If we have all these factors in place, I'm very confident that we have a very solid team. Some of us feel that the World Cup came too soon for the Black Stars. That's why I predicted that we're not going to go beyond the group stage. But if we have all these factors in place and working on them, surely in the next AFCON, for me, Ghana will win the next AFCON. I feel it will happen.
Ghana will win the next AFCON. It will be interesting because the Moroccans are also saying that the crop of players they have now, hopefully in 2024, it will work for them.
If the World Cup took place in 3 or 4 months later than it did, Ghana would have made at least the quarters. Yes.
All right, Daniel, let me bring you in. And now, from my own point of view, it's like the GFA is doing a lot of try and error. Like they want a quick resource, so they bring in CK Akono. It's not going a man to AFCON. We ship him out. We bring in Milo. AFCON, he doesn't go. Now Tuado has left. What's really the way forward for us to turn things around?
Let me tell you this. Until there is, I mean, I hear people say the GFA is dabbling in player selection and all of that. But what people don't talk about is the government dabbling in the FA's affairs. And I can tell you this on authority because CK was never the first choice of the GFA in the first place when they took office and wanted to bring in a coach. The plan was to bring in a foreign technical director, which they did. But even that, they didn't get the right person because of how much are we willing to pay as a country? How much and how high are we willing to jump? I'm telling you today that people say Chris Hughton. If Chris Hughton is announced as the next Black Stars coach and we announce that he's taking $100,000, Ghanaians will turn on him. But how much are you willing to pay for the quality that you require? And this is a conversation we need to have as a country. People say, let's go for Heavy Renard. Do you know how much he would charge to be coach of the Black Stars?
He's now taking 135 in Saudi. And then after even the elimination, there was a report on Sky that they're trying to give him a contract extension, which means the figure will rise to probably 200,000.
Ask yourself how you would react if Ghana was paying a coach $100,000 every month.
If Ghana was paying, I would be furious. But if the FA, if the FA is paying,
but the FA doesn't pay the Black Stars.
But I see, for me, and I've stated a couple of times that when they say Black Star players should be patriots, you are taking 100,000 and all that, that has not really been my problem. My problem is if you are taking the money and you are performing, I don't really care because we have equally some people in this country who are taking equally huge sums of money and we are not seeing like the results of their work. So if Chris Hughton can take 100,000 and will give us the AFCON in 2024, I mean, in the short term, we will criticize.
Yeah.
But if we go to Ivory Coast and we bring the trophy, I'm not sure anybody will even think about we like giving Chris Hilton $100,000. Imagine we are going to the.
But the issue is that will your government agree
to pay
that?
Exactly. You see, we know the cost of everything, but the value of nothing in this country. Do you know how much Morocco have spent in where they are? The Morocco administration and the plan they've had is similar to what Perez was talking about, a long-term project. Yeah. For so long, the North Africans will go to the World Cup and would fizzle out. Yeah. Morocco always had a plan, including having a partnership with the Ghana Football Association with their women's football and their men's football, playing friendly matches, trying to learn from us. But what they have is more money to throw at it than we do. That is why they had, at a certain point, had Hervé Renard coaching them as their national team coach. But I'm just trying to build a point from what you asked me. When the government said they wanted a local coach, at the time the FA didn't want a local coach. The government said that we are preaching government beyond aid. We cannot, in this period, go for a foreign coach because that goes at variance with what we are preaching. So when Kusiapia was being let go, and that's also one of the things that hinder our progress and the consistent we are planning, we are learning. Yeah. Because in that 2 years or so, or 3 years since Kets come, we've been in power. We've had 4 coaches or so, from Kusiapia to Siki Akono to Milovan to Otuado. How do you plan?
Yeah, but that comes my question that, and I remember specifically the words of GFA president Kets when he unveiled Milo.
Yes.
So we don't know.
Yes.
So if Milo goes to AFCON,
yes,
it doesn't work.
Yes.
And then we all know that probably, and he felt that he didn't have enough time
exactly
with the team. So we could have just decided to stick with Milo.
But did you know that every president said they wanted to stick with Milo? If you remember.
Yes.
But the government said no. The government said sack him.
But was Milo the coach Ghana needed at the time?
No. But the question is, the FA believed that he didn't have time. The coach believed that he didn't have enough time.
Milo didn't even have what we needed at the time.
But you see,
he's a good coach.
Yes.
But at the time we got him back, he wasn't the right coach for the Black Stars. So it didn't make sense for the FA to insist on it, because at that point, I don't know whether the motivation was the long-term project, which we don't know the FA has, because they've not communicated about it, or it was because they were comfortable with him. You see, there's a tricky part. When you talk about the government sort of, in one way, blowing hot and cold with what they want with the football, they want the results, but they don't want to invest the money. That is true. But there's also the issue about what kind of relationship the FA should have with the government. And we've had, when Arthur Mills was president, the chaos they created in the FA, and then the FIFA issues about interference. So there's a certain communication the FA should have with the government, which will put all these things to bed. Yeah. The FA hasn't been able to settle that.
The issue here is that the government doesn't have a plan for football. Doesn't have a plan for sports. The government construct artificial turfs, not FIFA standard and things that a world developed. We're not doing anything.
But do you know that every successful country here, especially the most serious governments in the world, have invested in entertainment and sports.
But so what?
The reason is it's a simple. Everybody should know that.
But your government is not doing it. So look at this MPP, for instance. They came in, they said we're going to construct youth resource centers. Now they are left in the bushes. Go ask the sports minister when was the last time he visited those places. Go to the NSA and ask the NSA under Professor Chumesi that, Prof, what was the plan for sports or Ghana football? Give me that plan. In terms of interview, you can tell you, but just give me a paper detailing the plan that this particular government has for the development of Ghana football, Ghana sports in the next 5 years. None. So then the burden shifts on the FA. Now the FA is more concerned with its marketing its product, which is the Ghana Premier League. So when the time comes for the FA to deal with and you see, the Black Stars is not a property of the FA. The Black Stars is a property of Ghanaians being managed by the FA. When it's time for us to go and do Black Stars, the FA can, all that the FA needs, just give us money, whatever amount we need, and we'll organize for you. When it comes to the real issue of developing football, there must be a conscious effort from the government itself to say, this is the plan. This is where we intend going. We see that in the next 5 years, we can generate maybe $100 million from football. So GFA, NSC, Sports Ministry, let's start a table and let's carve a plan. We don't have that.
Okay, Daniel, let me allow you to conclude. Then I take a quick.
They sidetrack me. You see, for me, I have a very idealistic way the GFA can manage their things, but they cannot do that if they don't have the money and the resources. Because every time they've had to go and beg government, the government will dictate to you. It's a very real life situation. When you always go to somebody for arms, they will tell you what to do. Yeah. It's like we going to the IMF. They'll tell you what to do with the money. They tell you to stop employment for 1 year or 2 years. Yeah. That is what happens, because I think the FA knows what he wants to do, but he doesn't have the money to do what he wants to do. And as long as the government is the one paying, they will determine. As to the Black Stars coach situation is supposed to be resolved, the government will have a big say in who becomes the next coach. We have all been told about how government officials are pushing for Chris Hughton. Yeah. If that happens, and the coach feels that he's employed by the government and not the FA, it brings a certain working strain on their relationship. That's always been the problem. And there's a bigger developmental issue about what we want as a country. The football we are running in this country is not only about the Black Stars. It starts from the grassroots. If you go to France, the Clairefontaine, it's at a big academy where the Mbappes were taken at 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds. But you can have a plan. Even in Nkrumah's time, we were sending coaches to Brazil to go and learn. Yeah. How many local coaches today that we say Otuado is gone, can we say is fit enough to be the Black Stars coach?
Okay, with that, I think my question is, the FA themselves were supposed to take Boedu, Anoka, Prosper. I think that season that he was second. Yeah. They were supposed to take the league winners, the top 4. They made that pledge that they would take them to do attachment in Europe. Granted, it seems the government doesn't really care about football unless it is Black Stars going to a tournament. Then take the money, go and win it, go to the semi-final. But the FA, in our own small way, can also do better. So that's my point, that we took CK Jemfi and then the likes to go and learn, and all the other
were taken there by the government.
Yeah, I understand that it was the government who made that initiative that stopped playing football, train, and then when he came back, that was how we got the Afranes or Sam Dodus and all that. But the FA has also made certain promises that they couldn't see through.
You finish a league where how much does the league winner get?
30 or 35,000.
That's how much is a plane ticket today? But yes, I agree with you. There must be long-term project, and there must be a proper collaboration between the state and the football association that is supposed to manage the football. We cannot want to reap where we have not invested. We cannot do that. And that's consistently what we do in this country. Yes, we have the talent, but talent alone has been proven not to be enough. It is not enough to have the talent if you don't groom them. If you look at the players we have, how many of them were groomed in this country? We are now handpicking players who are born, have heritage. But that's what parents talk about. Soon. If you don't have commitment to the country that you are playing for, then you are becoming a mercenary. Then you are playing to, if you like, build up your own profile. Yeah. Yes, at some point, because you are building your own profile, it helps the country. But that is not a sustainable model. We cannot do that. A lot of the big stars that have come from Brazil, even though today you say a lot of the Brazilian players at the World Cup are not, they don't play in Brazil, but they are products of their system. Yeah. But yes, they are a poor country. That is an avenue for them to get out of poverty, because they have the talent, and then they try to refine them to a certain stage before they offload them. When was the last time a player left Ghana directly to Europe? Apart from Afenejan and recently, and even that one, a white man has come to look for them. There are systematic problems that we need to solve. But we have the basic, we have the talent, and we need to invest in the national teams. And it's not only about the Black Stars. It's about the women's football. It's about the youth teams. The government is only interested in the Black Stars. How many of the coaches that coach the junior national teams have been paid? They are not even on contract. And yet they are supposed to be the conveyor belt. You play for the Black Stars, you are the finished article. It is not Black Stars level that I come to teach you how to break a ball and head the ball and chase the ball. Somebody will do that work. And those people, you are not paying them. You don't pay attention to them. And so yes, the GFA, the government, all of us must not be Black Stars journalists. We must not be Black Stars government and a GFA, Black Stars GFA. we must all be interested, and we must understand when a coach comes and is taking $200,000, we need to know how much benefit you are going to get from that $200,000. If you only focus on how much the coach is going to take, you will end up bastardizing the coach, and that can affect the output of what we want to achieve. How much did South Africa spend in when they hired Scolari and co when they wanted to host the World Cup? Even they got out of the tournament in the first round. But you can see that they built on that system over the years. Even Morocco, you think there's the fingerprint of Heavy Renard is still not on this Morocco team? It is, because the build-up of everything they have done and all the money they have spent over the years.
We need to build, and then that's the responsibility of the government, because Kwame Nkrumah showed it in 1957. He said CKJMP stop playing football and then go to the German coaching school. He came back, he trained a couple of coaches, and the coaches he trained together with him gave Ghana 4 AFCON trophies, and we lost 2 final games in 1968 and 1970. Let's go straight to the US and speak to former CEO of Ghana Free Balls, Kojo Chumboafo. Mr. Chum, if you can hear me, last week Friday, we discussed what went wrong on the day that resulted in our elimination from the World Cup. What is the way forward for us as a country to make sure that in 2024, when we go to Ivory Coast, it won't be another disgrace?
Well, you can't keep. Thank you for the invite, and I hope you can see me or hear me. You see, you cannot keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. It just doesn't work that way. So we went to the AFCON at the beginning of the year. We did poorly, very poorly. We had the distinction of being beaten by Comoros. That was disgraceful. It was embarrassing, because even if we had taken Agnes Wedro and Kuba, Comoros shouldn't beat us. But we lost. And when we came back, we were promised different. Indeed, when this current team was assembled, I remember hearing the sports minister saying in Parliament that we were going to see, the aim was to get to the semi-final of the World Cup. And why not? Because we were within a penalty of getting to the semi-final as far back as 2010. That was 12 years ago. So, you know, why not? But look at what happened. And what happened was because we had a coach who didn't know how to coach, how to manage egos at the national level. He didn't have experience. He didn't know what he was doing. But even worse than all that, he was very arrogant, very condescending. Look at his exit interview. And at the end of the day, he couldn't manage the egos of the players to put the right players where he needed to put them. He didn't select and choose our best players, in my opinion, because there's absolutely no way anybody can convince me that if you are a coach worth your salt, you select Baba Rahman ahead of Jeffrey Schlupp, and you select Isahaku, Fatau Isahaku ahead of Joe Pencil, or not find a place in your 26 to put those two, if I could put it that way. And at the time when we needed creativity against Uruguay, where was the Joe Pencils of this world that we needed? We conceded 7 goals. 5 of the goals that we conceded came directly from the ineptitude of Baba Rahman. So you can't tell me that we had good coaching at the Black Stars. And if you don't have coach at the tournament, and if you don't have good coaching at the tournament, you will end up messing up. We had a player like Kamal Soa sitting on the bench. How come he never played a minute? This is a guy who anchored his team from the Belgian league, no less, to the Champions League knockout stage. So what is the criteria to put players who are performing at the highest level in the team, as opposed to playing players who are not at the peak of their performance. What is the criteria? What will it take for somebody who's good enough to get into the Black Stars?
Mr. Chum, I want to ask you this. Beyond what Otuado, what he didn't do right on the day, and then the fault of the GFA and all that, what's the role of the government in this? Because you've spoken about we not having a good coach. We've seen that here in Ghana, we have certain coaches who have shown the potential that if given the needed training and then the resources, probably we can say that, oh, we have about 6 coaches who are in Ghana and then can manage the Black Stars. We always talk about we winning 4 AFCON trophies. It was an investment by a certain government some 60 years ago. You've been in governments before. What should governments do so that we will have the technical men that maybe in the future, it wouldn't be like we always have to go outside to bring in coaches, because you've stated that one of our biggest problems in Qatar was a coaching issue?
Well, I think that we should be careful when we talk about having coaches in Ghana as opposed to having Ghanaian coaches. You see, I think that we should by now be classifying people like Otuado and Chris Hughton as Ghanaians, because they are Ghanaians. They may have grown up outside. They may have had most of their lives living outside. But you see, the national team is not a coaching job per se. It is a management of players who are already established with their craft. So if I, Kodochum Boafo, can coach players, picking them from Sunday leagues in Accra, going to Swag Park, going to Indagfa Park to pick up potential and spot them and send them to Hearts of Oak and coach them to get to a certain level, it's different from coaching national team players, the Thomas Partey's and the Atizigis, and these are players who have gotten to a certain level already, and it is indeed in recognition of that that you invite them to come to a national team. So you need a person who can manage the egos of players, not a coach who substitutes a player like Andrea Yu was substituted and he goes gaga in the dressing room because he doesn't respect the coach. Do you think that if it was Thomas Tuchel, who was our coach, who substituted the day you would have gone mental in the dressing room? No. Do you think if it was, for want of a better name, if it was Gareth Southgate or any of those world-class coaches? And I think before I sound like, I am already preempting what may or may not happen, I honestly think, like most Ghanaians, that we should have given the team to Chris Hughton, because he has the record. He has coached Spurs. He has coached Newcastle, and indeed the current Brighton team that we are seeing, he is the one who put the rudiments for the current Brighton team. So I don't know. I am aware that the government was pushing for Chris Hughton, and it was the FA that wanted Otuado. At the time, we deferred to what the FA wanted, but clearly they made a mistake, and they should admit that they made a mistake. Because if they don't admit that they made a mistake, I have heard rumors, and there may be rumors, that their preference right now is for George Boateng. That's another mistake they shouldn't make. That is another mistake they shouldn't make, because George Boateng has never coached any team. So you cannot have people who have not coached any team. You bring them, and at that time you are doing an experiment. The Ghana national team cannot be an experiment for any coach. The first criteria for selecting a coach to coach the Black Stars should be somebody who has experience managing at some form of level.
All right, experience.
And in that, we have Chris Hughton. He has been a technical advisor. He knows the players. He knows what to do. He knows how to manage the egos. He has seen the temperament of some of the players firsthand, and they shouldn't waste time. They should choose him.
All right, Mr. Chum, thank you very much. But before I let you go, you mentioned that if we get world-class coaches to come and handle our team, you mentioned former Chelsea coach Thomas Tuchel. When he was at Chelsea, he was taking £14 million every year. If we hire Thomas Tuchel and we give him and we give him 1 million every month, would you agree?
No, hold on. But a former Chelsea coach has coached the Black Stars before.
The level of Abraham Grant and Thomas Tuchel
before. So if we are talking about former Chelsea coaches, then we have a template. But I am talking about the caliber of the coach that you need. And I say we have the answer. The answer is sitting in front of us, and the answer is Chris Hughton. Let's not go looking for a question. This is not mathematics. It's not proof by induction. You have the answer sitting in front of you, unless, of course, he has an opinion or he has opinions that somebody doesn't want to hear. That's a whole other discussion. But if there's anybody we were preparing to take over the mantle of coaching the Black Stars, the answer sits right there. And before I go, let me just harp on something, because I heard part of the discussion talking about money. You know what? There's a saying in my hometown, if we are talking about going to win the World Cup, we must have a certain threshold for which we are willing to pay, for which a good coach will accept to coach the Black Stars. Because you see, Otuado didn't come for free. One fine day, I'm very sure we will find out how much he earned during this small World Cup period, when we get a breakdown of what the Black Stars paid. And he didn't come for free. He didn't come for chicken change. Indeed, Ghana has done very, very well for Otuado. We selected him to come and play for the Black Stars. At the time he was playing in Germany, he would never have gotten into the German national team. We selected him as an inexperienced coach to come and coach the Black Stars. He would never have coached any team. So in more ways than one, Ghana has built his CV. In somebody like Chris Hughton, we haven't built his CV. He already has his CV. And I think that we shouldn't mess around. We shouldn't waste time. We should put him in position so that what needs to be done should be done. Because otherwise, we will go to Cote d'Ivoire and we will come back. Every time we go and mess up, we come back and the FA tell us lessons learned. We don't want another lessons learned in 2024. We want the AFCON trophy. End of story.
We want the AFCON.
It is time that Ghanaians held the feet of the selectors, of the coaches and the players to the fire. We don't want lessons learned. We've learned too many lessons. Since 1992, we've been learning lessons. We don't want to learn any more lessons. We want the trophy. Next World Cup, nine African teams are going to qualify. Let's make sure that Ghana qualifies for the 2026 World Cup without fail. That is the level we want to be at. End of story.
We won the AFCON trophy in 2024. You heard from Kojo Chumbuafo, he's a former CEO of Ghana Free Zones. You've heard everything for yourself. We need a long-term plan. And one of these days, we will put it out on GhanaWeb.com for you. How Kwame Nkrumah built the Ghanaian football empire starting from 1957. Thank you very much, Mr. Chum, for joining us today all the way from the US. This is GhanaWeb Mundial. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we spend some few minutes that we have left to talk about the quarterfinals of the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
Boso nya say
Obek Kanukre. Now, Susu Sang Pine, be a want to be a man in quite baby.
Mommy, you basically see about Kotoso. No, Mammy, I cook on Sam. Me poga, send me sick from Lemonade Finance and let me £10.
Lemonade Finance.
Say they're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted. Instant charges. Exchange waiting in Sudia. Unbeatable. Resume promo code no. Dr. Likey. Nenya £10, $10, and now $10 Canadian. What first transaction? What is Sunday Scar Coffee? No. Dial to Lemon and Finance.
Are you still searching for the right platform to share your voice, thoughts, and feelings? Then, the GhanaWeb Reporter on the GhanaWeb app is the perfect app for you. It is Ghana's only citizen journalism and infotainment platform. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, GhanaWeb Reporter links you up to the world. The reporter also gives you the opportunity to blog or become a citizen journalist, so you share stories with the rest of the world about cities, music genres, pop culture, tech, politics, etc. Download the GhanaWeb app from the Google Play Store or App Store on your smartphone and open it. Tap on the member button at the bottom of your screen and follow the easy steps to register with your phone number or email, and you are ready to become a reporter.
GhanaWeb Reporter, democratizing journalism and empowering content creators.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching GhanaWeb Mundial. We started by talking about the way forward for Ghana football, because it's not only about the Black Stars. The Black Stars is just a small unit, and then it has been established that we need a long-term plan. We can always sit around, wait when we have maybe a month to a tournament, then we do Kobo and say we are going to win the tournament. It doesn't work like that. In Croatia, show that you have to at least put together a plan before you can start winning trophies. Now, let's go back to Qatar. Today at 3 p.m., there will be live update on GhanaWeb. Record holders of the World Cup, Brazil, will be facing last year's finalist, Croatia, in the first game of the quarterfinal. Before and then in the evening, the Argentines, hoping that they will be giving Messi a World Cup, but they have to go past Louis van Gaal's Netherlands before to keep their hopes and then dreams alive. Ed, let me begin with you. 3 p.m. Brazil against Croatia. They are still saying that they are playing it for Pelé.
I think Brazil stands a better chance. They are my pick to win the World Cup, because if you look at, they have a very, very good team. I mean, they have a very, 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 very good team. They play very well, transitions, the skill. Brazil is Brazil, and I think this is probably the best crop of players if you take away the Roberto Carlos and then the Cafus and things. But they have one fine crop of players that can probably win this cup and the next cup and probably maybe do something else. So I tip them to win over Croatia. Croatia, they have, you know, pockets of one individual brilliance there, but
I think they've been very lucky in this World Cup.
Yeah, I think so too, because if you look at statistics, they barely did well more than Ghana, and for some reason they found themselves where they are
because
now.
of Lukaku.
so I think they don't have a lot of quality in the team compared to Brazil. I mean, if you compare to a lot of the countries at the World Cup, but they have a certain strength mentally that makes them go, and that is one thing I admire about them. If you look at this World Cup, the teams that don't have a lot of quality, they have the attitude to play, and they play. South Korea, Japan, you don't see the quality a lot, but they have a certain attitude that makes them play very good football, and then it takes them somewhere. With Argentina and then the Netherlands.
Okay, I'll give. Sorry, let me also give you a bite of the Brazil game, because if we had qualified, we
Would have
were,
played Brazil.
we were going to play Brazil in the
Round of 16.
16, and then we saw what they did to the Swiss, South Koreans, and then already Brazil was a country that our coach tipped that they could be winning the World Cup. Are we going to get probably the first upset in the knockout phase?
When we get to these stages, as you can see in the round of 16, there are very few upsets at this level.
I think then there was none in the round of 16.
Yeah, no. Because there are fine margins. Now we say
Morocco, Spain.
Yeah,
Morocco, Spain. Yes.
Well, Morocco, Spain. Usually you say the boys have been separated from the men, and that it's a game of fine margins. So a lot of upsets won't come. I think Brazil have a lot of youthful legs than the Croatians at this point. I think Croatia is still relying on the experience of Modric.
Modric 30 plus, Mateo Kovacic 29.
Yes, Perisic, and who are who are literally playing their last World Cup. So I believe that there will be too much for the Croatians. The Croatians could pat themselves that they've reached this far. I don't think that they really believe. Just like the Uruguayans, the Croatians are an aging team, and I think they need to build on their squad. I think they would be happy even if they are knocked. I don't think there's any shame being knocked out by Brazil at this stage of the World Cup. I think Brazil, for a powerhouse like themselves, they haven't won the World Cup in 20 years. So this will be exactly 20 years since they last won the World Cup. They've got the squad to win it. In 2014 when they hosted it, Germany humiliated them. I think they want to atone for that. So I will tip them to go through to the semi-finals.
Perez, Argentina versus Netherlands. Many, including myself, we think that this is a real test for Argentina in the World Cup, and then they have a worthy opponent in Netherlands.
But before that, let me have a bite of the Chris Hughton story. See, if you appoint Chris Hughton as Black Stars coach, we'll regret it. For the current Black Stars team, the last coach they need is a defensive-minded coach.
They need someone who attack.
Yes.
Okay.
So
now let's go.
I think that Argentina are actually the underdog here. If you watch them carefully, they've survived long on the supremacy and the godliness of Messi than actually being a team. Throughout the time, I think Messi has been the one dragging them, not only in this tournament, but compared to Argentina, Netherlands, Louis van Gaal has built a very solid team, very, very good team that I feel are more than capable of beating Argentina and winning a tournament. If you watch the Australian game versus Argentina, the only thing that separated the two sides was Messi. Yeah. And I think that's what it's going to be. If Messi shows up today and is in the mood to play, Netherlands will be in trouble because Van Gaal normally doesn't set up his team to defend or to counter the threat. Yeah. No, he sets up his team to attack. Play. And now, if you give Messi that role and you don't put someone on him, you'll be in trouble. So if Messi shows up today, then Argentina might be able to go through. But if Messi gets an off day, then I think Netherlands, for me, Netherlands are the favorites, even though I want Argentina to win the World Cup because of Messi.
All right, so my pundits are going for Brazil and then Argentina. For the sake of time, I can't let Danny and then Edward get a bite of the Argentina again. Now, tomorrow, it will be Portugal against the Atlas Lions of Morocco. Africans against Portugal. Where will it go then, Danny? Can they conjure another magic?
If they don't have the, excuse my French, the African mentality that we have arrived, we have reached. I think that's always been the bane of the African side. Senegal did it in 2002. That game they could have won and progressed to the semi-finals.
Even I think in 1990, Cameroon. Yeah. If you check the time when they were leading, as at 88 minutes, they were leading. Gary Lineker got the equalizer in the 90th. It took them to extra time. The same thing to Cameroon. Even Ghana, score and let's go.
So because for me, that's always been the African problem. Sometimes the mentality, oh, we have equaled the African record. It's enough. Even if we go home, we are going to be welcome as heroes. If they want to push themselves, then they can give Portugal a big fight. Ghana proved that really, if you stand up to them, you can fight them boot for boot. I think Morocco have a very decent squad, but the Portuguese have shown that without Ronaldo, they have a very formidable young team. You can look at the bench. Rafael Leao and Co come in and just come with so much ease. In my head and my heart tells me two different things, but whichever way it goes, I think Morocco have done themselves a very good. Deliver themselves a very good account. The thing about Portugal is that every team that Ghana has played in the group stages of the previous World Cup, they tend to go all the way.
To the final, yeah.
All the way. You can check the records. In 2006, we were in the same group as in 2000 at Italy. Italy won it. In 2014, we were in the same group as Germany. Germany won it. I think it was only in 2014, 2010 that the group stages within. Even that we met Germany, but Spain won it. Spain won it, but I think Portugal have a very decent squad. I think they can reach the semi-finals, which will be for me their ceiling.
Perez, when Ronaldo was benched, and then how the Portuguese played, a lot of people were now sure that Portugal can do something. But there are some Portuguese journalists who also think that Ronaldo is not the only problem, but Fernando Santos. Because in the game that he decided not to play Ronaldo, for the first time, he didn't play two defensive midfielders. He played only one, which then gives his team more attacking chance. If you go by this,
the reason behind that is that when you're playing Ronaldo, without a ball, you have a player down.
Okay.
So you need two players in the midfield to make up for, in terms of defense, what you're losing Ronaldo. But when you're not playing Ronaldo, everybody is defending. So if you watch, and that's why I was shocked that he went into the tournament playing Ronaldo, because if you watch their game, one of the best Portuguese performances I've watched in the last 2 years was their game against Nigeria.
Yeah.
They were pressing.
The pressing was
everywhere. And that was because there was no Ronaldo. When they have Ronaldo, the football is totally different. And that's why I'm praying tomorrow he starts Ronaldo. Danny mentioned, for me, two factors could decide a game in favor of Morocco. The one is the mentality problem. If they don't feel like, before I drew her, right now we are record makers, so let's relax. If they don't feel like that, and the other factor is, if you place Ronaldo, I think Morocco will go through, because with Ronaldo, Portugal plays a kind of football that it's quite easier to defend compared to when they have no Ronaldo, because even when they play the guy who scored the hat-trick, you have him, Bernardo Silva, Yao Felix, interchanging position. They are very difficult for you to track. But when it's Ronaldo, you know that go. So ball on the back, now one kakra. Then he gets frustrated. Then Ronaldo can't do it. So for me, I'm hoping that tomorrow he brings Ronaldo back into the squad, because if Morocco goes through to the semis, Africa's slots in the World Cup will increase by 2. We'll get to 11.
Okay.
And that's huge for me. Secondly is the agenda. Agenda must agenda. If Ronaldo goes home, Team Messi. So
that is, if you don't go home tonight,
we are not going home. So, for the sake of the agenda, for the sake of the slots, because that also means that Ghana will have a better chance of making it to US, because US, Canada, lie than ever call.
Okay, and I want to ask you this on if you watch the Moroccan team, they squandered a lot of chances. Yeah. The game against Spain, I think that they had more than 5 opportunities to make sure that the game doesn't end on penalties. Can they afford to be doing the same thing against Portugal?
I'm sure by now they've done a lot of work on that game, because, I mean, for both sides, that game was one of the worst games to actually watch from both sides. But with the Moroccans, you can pardon them, because, I mean, if you compare them to Spain, you don't expect much from Morocco. But it was a good game. My problem with the team is that, having played 120 minutes plus penalties, I don't see how they're going to stand with the Portuguese team that seemingly is very young, if you take away Ronaldo. So I think that, and Pepe, of course. But Pepe even plays better than some young players. So I think their biggest problem will be how to get over the Spain game, and then the fatigue with that game, and then go into this game fit, because they need to be very, very fit to play Portugal. If you look at the Portuguese team, they are a terrible team to play. They wear you out in every department of the game, especially if Ronaldo is not playing. So you need to be extra fit to be able to play that. So the coaching and the coaching staff have a lot of work to do to make sure that these guys are fit for that game. I don't see. I personally don't. Yes, I understand Perez, but I don't see how Morocco will beat Portugal. I mean, if you look at the last Portuguese game, Portugal sent a signal that we have more than what we've actually shown you. So it's a very the best they can do is to know how to defend, because they did pretty well with the defense against Spain. So they need to build on that, and then they probably need to build on their midfield to be able to block certain people from actually having a lot of runs in it, or else they'll run them like the way South Koreans would run Ghana.
Sofiane Bouffard will be the man for Morocco, and Rafael Guerrero is going to get a very tough competition. Now, adding and then your final words, and then we go the game of the quarterfinals. Quick one with England and France. Who is going home?
England is going home.
The trophy is not going home.
No.
Hey, England best Perez, England and
France best. This one, you know, the argument. They have been running their mouth that Mbappe, they have a plan for Mbappe. Same Mbappe will score them. Video with England. See, whenever England under Southgate come up against a credible opponent, they lose.
Is it only Southgate? Almost every.
So when they get the Entebbe, they will score 5, 6. Then they come up against the very credible ones. Then they lose. But you see, the other thing for me is that in their game against their last game they played, I think I saw some new tactics. Be like Southgate do some, because you see the decision to play Bellingham and Henderson as wide central midfielders isn't something that he's known for, and that worked for them because what he did was they overloaded the flanks, the defensive options of their opponents. So it was very difficult for Senegal to track them. Declan Rice always dropped deeper as the number 3 defender, so they didn't have issues exposing Maguire because they were playing high line. So Declan Rice was more or less like another defender. But now they are coming up against a French team that I feel also have the quality to also hurt them if they decide to go by that. Because France also have wingers who can also double up. They have fullbacks who can also in attack also cause problems. For me, it's more of if Mbappe turns up, and he will turn up, and they will beat England.
Ed, is the trophy going home, or the human beings?
I sincerely want France to progress, because I think they've been solid, and I mean I love watching Mbappe. I love watching what he brings to football, his age, what he's able to achieve. I mean, and until Giroud left Arsenal, I didn't like him much until he left, and then now he's one of the players I also like to watch a lot. watch a lot.
Arsenal cockles.
So I think I love the French game. I want to. Some part of me want to see England progress, because it's been long and they have one of the finest leagues. For heaven's sake, the least they can do is to go through. But they don't have what it takes technically, I think. Their problem over the years has been one, that is coaching. And for some reason, you see, England and Ghana, there's no difference. No wonder we're colonized by them, because we are all looking for, English coach, and then the team breaks into pieces, and then they start. So I would love to see good football. I want to see what happens. I don't think I want to pick between the two, but I want to see England show us why the EPL is the finest, and then against the farmers.
So you heard from Edward Smith, Perez, Ezra Kwao, and then Daniel Odro. They are our journalists here at GhanaWeb. My pick: Argentina will be going home tonight. Brazil will be going to the semi-final. Portugal, and then my heart wants England to go, but investment It's France. So let's see what happens at the end of the quarter final game. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the GhanaWeb Mundial. Hopefully we'll meet on Monday to discuss the semi-final of the competition, and then we'll move to the final. Until we meet again, it's bye for now.
Obek Hanukre. Now, Susu Sang Pine, Pia Wanton and be a man in quite baby.
Mommy, you basically see about Kotoso. No, Mammy, I could concern. Pepoga, send me sicker from Lemonade Finance and let me £10.
Lemonade Finance.
Say they're sending money back home from UK, Canada, and now US. I accepted a instant charges. Exchange waiting in Sudia. Unbeatable. Resume promo code no Dr. Likey. Nenya £10, $10, and now $10 What first transaction? What is send this car coffee no? Dial to Lemon and Finance.